Time. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Time. 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 Oh. Time. Hello, guys. Hello. Sound check. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Yep. Так, ну что, запускаем?
Да.
Так, в какой-то момент у тебя есть пауэрбанк, может?
Нет.
Поменяем, значит.
И микрофон бери. И я так. А где наш спикер? Guys, we're just to begin. Да. Кто уже начинается? Guys, we're just to begin. Are you? So how are we going to grab the plan is here. А я сама Олимпия. Все, говорим. Валя, в Бэкрум какая-то проблема здесь, да? Straight and on the right. Что слышно?
Можно один раз нажать снизу, чтобы было слышно, пока не страница вперед, один раз короткий. Просто на низ нажмем.
Ну, сейчас, да.
Ну, когда.
Но нас слышно. Слушай, ну, Ariel.
Говори.
Yes. Yeah, hi everyone. We're just to begin, so please take your seats, guys. Please don't be shy. Take the first rows. Yeah, so Hi, everyone. We are very happy to see lots of people today. It means that our topic is relevant and that it's interesting for people. My name is Dana. I'm from Toloka team. So if you have or you're going to have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. Our today's meetup is going to be about how machine learning actually affects marketing analytics. Just a few information for you. Wi-Fi here. You can take a photo of it if you will need this. A few words about Toloka and our global community. We are an AI company, and we have a global community all over the world. For instance, we have our department in Israel and Switzerland, different countries in the USA, in Europe. So if you're interested in ML AI, you should join our Slack community and see all the news and trends there. Besides, you can find some mates to communicate with on professional topics. Besides, most of you registered to our meetup via meetup.com. So please subscribe for our meetup channel. So you will join all our offline and online meetups in Israel and also all over the world. Quickly about our agenda. So firstly, we're going to hear 3 hour speakers. Then there's going to be a short break, like 10 minutes, and networking, of course. Afterwards, we're going to have a panel discussion with the C-level of our companies, Similarweb, Toloka, and Smelter.ai. So please stay. It will be quite productive and fruitful for you. And afterwards, we're going to have a network, and the meeting will be over. By the way, don't hesitate to ask questions after you ask a question, and if it's going to be interesting, we will give you a branded t-shirt of Toloka. By the way, this is our CEO, Olga Migorskaya. She's also going to be here today, but she's late because of the traffic in Tel Aviv. So if you would like to ask her any questions, also, please don't hesitate to ask them. And our first speaker from Smelter, we're happy to have you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy, and I want to thank Toloka for this opportunity to present our work. So I'm going to speak today about estimating the Twitter MDAO. So unless you lived under a rock, then you know there is interesting internet drama going on in the last few months. So Twitter was about to be bought by Elon Musk, and then suddenly he canceled, or he tried to cancel the deal. It went to court, and currently he's trying to rebuy the deal. So it's there's a lot of ongoing drama, and but the idea behind this notion or question, or what underlies the problem, is something that Twitter is it calls MDAO. And MDAO, they defined it in their financial reports, is monetizable direct daily active users. And these users are actually what Twitter sells to their advertisers. So these are the people that are logged into Twitter, and they engage the platform and use it. And this is directly tied to the financial worth of Twitter. So what's in dispute is how prevalent are bots on Twitter. And I want to make a distinction here. There's a lot of friendly bots in Twitter that do things that you want, like you subscribe to something, they inform you of your favorite show coming on or whatever. But there's also a lot of scammy or unfriendly bots in Twitter. And the issue of how many of the accounts on Twitter are actually bots are in disputes. So Twitter officially states that something like 5% of their users bots, and the dispute was extensive effort they're making to delete accounts and check the identity of or the activity of the users, and this is the figure that they state in their financial reports. However, there were several works. One of them I'm using the slides from that state that actually it's closer to 20% of the amount of users in Twitter are bots, and there's some discrepancy here, and this is about money. This relates to money. So before I described our project, I want to introduce us, Similarweb, a bit. So we're an Israeli-based company, and our goal is to give all information digital about websites and applications. So this is something we are called digital intelligence, and it has to do with the number of users going to a site, keywords related to site, and new products include products you can buy on Amazon. So the idea is that we sell data. So we are a company that our product itself is data that we are selling. This is an example of something that we are supposed to predict. This is the website traffic of NFL.com. As you can see, this is an interesting quasi-periodic signal, and it's a very staple of our the challenge that we are trying to overcome. And so we do a lot of models that pertain to time series analysis, and we use a lot of data that we call so-called structured data. Okay, and this is another example of Apple.com. So we need to be able to differentiate between an actual signal, an event, a news event, or an actual event in the real world, Apple launching a product, and something that is like noise or artifact of our models. So the main two data sets that we use, something what we call the learning set, is just direct measurements from our customers, and these measurements are few and also biased in the regards that we don't have good coverage of all countries, we don't have good coverage of all sizes or categories of websites. So this is one challenge, another challenge that we need to overcome. And another source of data that we have, what we call the user panel, is not dissimilar to what Toloka offers, is a large group of users that share with us information, and we rely on this information to estimate, to generate the estimations. Okay, and for those of you who are more data science oriented, so two unique problems that we have that most other companies do not have is something called source consensus, that we have data coming from very myriad of sources. All of these sources have different biases. We need to come up with some sort of model that ties all these models together and decide from all these different competing suggestions for estimation, a certain estimation. And another thing that we struggle with is that we have data on the user level, but we only have learning set on what we call the bag level or the site level. And this is a very soft loss term. And there are many ways to solve our models giving these soft losses. And these are the two, let's say, mathematically or algorithmically heavy challenges that we need to tackle. Okay, so coming back to the Twitter project, so our goal was twofold. One, to generate an actual estimation of Twitter MDAO, which they stated that is impossible to do. And the other goal was to resolve the contradiction between what the Twitter report and what what was reported by Spark Toro and others about the fraction of bots in Twitter. Okay. It's not working. Okay. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. We didn't set up to estimate the number of bots. Other people have done this. I recommend, if you have the time and the inclination, you can go and try to read through their works. It's very interesting. People have very different approaches. They looked at the text that the people tweeted, the frequency of tweeting, a whole lot of features, and they came out with interesting machine learning based models to giving after they scraped the tweets themselves and to see to try to determine this. And this is not our goal. Our goal is actually to predict the number of real users that Twitter has. So the first thing we did, but one of our team members just verify that our panel doesn't have something that looks like a Twitter bot. And we used a bunch of heuristics that these heuristics basically say the user doesn't behave oddly. He doesn't do like a periodic calling, sampling of data. He doesn't, he gets to sleep at night, things like this. So we made sure, and then we saw that a very small fraction of our users were filtered out using any of these different heuristics that I just mentioned. Okay. Okay, and then our approach was very simple. We have our panel data, and this panel data, when on our daily job, we build over it a very complicated and full of stepped estimation models for the different websites. Here we did something, took the completely opposite approach. We wanted to do the simplest model possible, and say, because we wanted the model to be explainable and easy to understand by anybody. So it's basically a regression model built on our panel data with respect to a certain number of sites, but we made sure that both these sites and application included the largest sites and relevant social media sites such as Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And so we had representation of similar platforms, platforms that similar to Twitter. And then we just built a simple regression model. We see a certain traffic coming from our panel. And then we built a robust regressor to avoid outliers. And the most of the work was to indeed to validate that our model shows the numbers that were stated in financial reports, quarterly financial reports by other companies such as Facebook. So when we saw that the numbers we are getting are pretty on the dot for those companies, we were very happy. And these are the results. So what you can see here is for the 4 quarters, starting at the 3rd quarter in 2021. This is the traffic for Twitter. So that on the top left is the app activity, and then on the bottom you have the usage from desktop and usage from mobile web. You can see that it's pretty much on the same level for these quarters. Okay. Okay, this is another interesting Venn diagram. This is the distribution of usage from more than one platform. So some people don't use only the Twitter app or the desktop, they use more than one platform, and then you can see the distribution. It's mostly the case that people are using the Twitter app, but some people are using the mobile web exclusively or the desktop, and some of them are doing more than one, using more than one platform. Okay. One thing that we had to tackle is that our panel data, actually, we see users and Twitter reports accounts. So some people have more than one account. And we had no direct way or simple way to estimate this, this ratio. And what we did, we took a benefit of our very unique panel in the sense that we can send surveys questions to our panel. And using the results of from the survey questions, we came up with the number I will show you soon. It's what is interesting about this approach is that we know the browsing history and app usage of these users. So when we send them question, we have a very independent way to see whether they are lying. So if they're lying, that they will lie about things that we know that we can verify, and this actually improves our fidelity to a very great extent. Okay, I said all this in this. Okay, so the number that we actually found out is not 1.81. I'm sorry, it's not 1.18. It's 1.13. So this means like this. The following. So some people have more than one account. A lot of them have 2, 3 accounts, but they're not active. They have these accounts, but on a daily basis, they're using their main account, and sometimes they switch to another account for, I don't know, because they work in a company or they want to be more anonymous or whatever. But the number is relatively close to 1. It's a factor of a little bit above 1.1. Okay, and this is the actual distribution we got from the survey. So I will explain the first bar, the 0 bar soon, but you can see most people have just one account, and the others, it follows like this exponential distribution. And but this is the effective usage of accounts. This is not how many accounts I have potentially, but this is how many accounts I actually use more than once a day. Okay, and these are the results. These are the results that we got. As you can see on the bottom line, these results agree with Twitter. So what we have is the results that are similar to what the Twitter are reporting in the financial reports. And interesting thing that we found is that what Twitter is not reporting is a lot of unauthenticated users. Now, I myself don't have a Twitter account, but I get a lot of Twitter links daily. So I can browse in the desktop or the mobile web, and I can see the tweet. And there's a significant portion of people who do this, and you can see the numbers there. It's not negligible. It's like 20% of people. And here in the next graph, you can see a breakdown of 3 groups of people. So in the blue, you have people, as I just mentioned, that don't have an account. In the green, you have people that have a Twitter account, but are not active. And the most interesting part is the orange. There are a group of people that have a Twitter account and actually do something actively. They're tweeting, they're replying. And this was the main finding for us. So take a moment to take this in. You can see that most people, and I think it should translate to your experience of Twitter, of most of you, don't tweet. They don't engage the platform, just use it passively. Okay. And this actually explains the contradiction that between the 20% reported by SparkToro and the 5% reported by Twitter. So out of the active users, this is the report that was done by the companies, and because people, when they came out, they tried to analyze the fraction of bots, they used actual people that were active in the last 90 days. And out of that, this 5% that we took as is, we took with Twitter's word, translate to the 20-something% of the users being bots. And if we take another work done like 5 years ago, that they found out that the bots tend to tweet about 1.5 more than humans, then this comes up almost to 30%. So this for us we were very happy about this, because this is a resolve the contradiction between the two stated numbers. So these are the people that worked on the project from our team. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so does anyone have a question? Please feel free to ask. Or during the break, if you're gonna, yes. So thank you very much. And our next speaker is Fedor from Toloka. Fedor.
Hi. Thank you very much for coming here. It works. Okay. Well, thank you very much. My name is Fedor. I'm going to share with you, this is going to be probably the most technical talk here, but hopefully it's going to be interesting. I'm going to share with you the thing we built inside, and we thought that maybe it's going to be useful for others. Not, we'll see, hopefully. But, and the goal of this adaptive models thing is to scale up ML analytics with human in the loop. And human in the loop is the concept which you hear quite often about. And scaling up analytics is hopefully some of you want. There's a brief story of my work experience. I did some PhD in machine learning, then worked in Amazon in forecasting demand, actually, for every item Amazon sells, and some personalization, Microsoft and AWS, and finally Toloka. And so the story of the talk is going to be this, like, it's going to go is that first I'm actually going to introduce to you the Toloka and the adaptive models, briefly what it is. And then kind of we get a little bit down into the topic of how companies tag their large amounts of data they have. Like you have a lot of texts or images. How do you tag them overall? What's the usual approach a lot of companies take? Then I'm going to share the details of how what we've built works under the hood slightly. I mean, not every single detail. I'm not going to show you the code today, but just infrastructure. And I'm going to get into a little bit into the use cases, which we can cover. Well, the whole idea of Toloka as a company overall is that it provides you with AI solutions based on for data related process based on crowdsourcing and data labeling. And if you have certain tasks, maybe a large amount of tasks, which you can think about, this is a little abstract, but task can be tag certain data point, or go to a store and take a picture of a shelf, right? These are the law. You can have a lot of those sort of tasks, and you send them to Toloka, and we have this human in the loop process, which is a part of data labeling, and part about machine learning models, which learn from that data labeling, and they're kind of feeding into each other. And as a result, hopefully something good is going to come out to whatever you want. So about the data labeling part, well, the way it works in Toloka is actually slightly different than quite a lot of other data labeling companies. It's a two-sided platform where you have machine learning teams which post tasks, and you have a crowd. And what by crowd, I mean every single person in the world who has internet can go, and you can go to an app and register and execute the tasks. And then the tasks from ML teams are being sent to the crowd for execution. And the crowd is actually quite large. So we have this global crowd of which speak 40+ languages, and there's 100+ countries present. And as a result of this, we kind of get two things, right? So we get multilingual coverage. And with the crowd or with the models, which I'm going to talk about, it's important to keep this in mind, because maybe you want to move to a new market, which you don't have any performers in Norway or anybody who speaks Norwegian, right? And all sorts of other tasks. And then another thing you get is scale. And this is important because maybe one day you have 50,000 messages, another day you have 1,000 messages. And it's really very easily scalable to this 50,000 spike one day, because the way it works is people see the tasks to get executed, and then they start executing them, and you don't have this fixed capacity for execution. Now, what about the Toloka adaptive models? Well, Toloka adaptive models automate model retraining and monitoring with human in the loop. And to decipher this phrase, I'm going to actually share with you, how, the concept of what the concept is behind, right? What's the typical process for a data scientist to process data? I mean, you have data, you have a collection of data. Then you say, what do I want to know about this data? Like about every data point, what do I actually want to know? And that's, you can explain how to label data, basically. That's what it is. And then you say, well, I'm actually going to label it. I'm going to gather human data. Then you prepare this for training, you label data, you prepare your data for training, and you train a model, deploy the model, and finally, bingo, you have this model somewhere hopefully deployed, you can get answers. Now, the problem with this approach, which basically a lot of people take, is that it takes a lot of time. Like you actually have to spend a lot of time on every single part. Then there is a certain thing that data shifts, data changes over time. And this process doesn't account for this, right? You don't have any, regular retraining or regular updates or whatever you've built. And then there's no model monitoring as well. Maybe the data changed, but you haven't noticed it because you have a model deployed, nobody monitors it, bingo. Finally, like to build this process in a reliable manner, you actually have to know a bit of a thing about machine learning operations, about how models work, how much time they need to respond to certain requests, like to images, to videos, right? And why the hardware fails sometimes to operate on, say, a large scale, because there is certain parallel processes which are not working very well when you have a spike in requests. And so what we basically did was said, well, the middle part can be somewhat automated. You can have automated training with AutoML inside. You can automated redeploy. It's all it's all can be written by the engineers. And as a result, instead of having all of this long process, now when we have a task for which we want to build a model, we just follow the process of collecting data, explaining how it's going to be labeled, and then just launching these tasks into this adaptive models thing. And that's it. So the reason why this might be interesting is because actually, according to quite a lot of recent surveys, overall, this process takes several weeks, sometimes several months for every new model which you're deploying. And we are speeding up that process. So this is, introduction about why we built this, why, what we do. Maybe now we can get into overall the process of tagging the data, of how you could approach this alternatively, So let's say you have a large collection of data points. In this case, it's text. It could be images. In this case, these are social media because the topic of today's meetup is social media. But it could be reviews or product descriptions or whatever not. And so you want to tag it. And maybe you have certain tags in mind, like you want to figure out which of these are relevant and which of these are not. Or maybe you want to figure out what's the sentiment. Maybe you want to figure out if this social media message is a feature request or support complaint. And of course, what people do is they hire a person to do this. I mean, you hire a person, they go and monitor all of this, and then they tag every single thing, or they write some rules for this, and finally it doesn't scale. And then you hire more people. You have 25 people who are processing, 50 people who are processing this every day. And you have to, turns out, manage those people, check their quality, and hiring those can be expensive. It's not flexible for the demand. And so often you go, okay, well, I'm going to write some rules, and maybe there are some, models out there who have been built for this, right? I mean, there's a lot of sentiment analysis models online. You can ping and get responses. But the problem with these is that they're not for you. They have been built on some generic data set, which is not your data set, which basically means two things. One is that even if you do exactly that task, the sentiment analysis task, maybe your data set is quite different than the data set, the Twitter data set they built on, right? Maybe you have a financial news data set. It's entirely different than the Twitter data set. And another thing is that you don't have these models for the tasks. You might not have these models for the tasks you want. Maybe you want to figure out how to your specific product, whether this message is relevant to your specific product. And as a result, this is what you end up with. You hire a data science team who builds this process. But I already mentioned that, with a data science team, the process is long. You need experts. You actually need experts to hire those people. And then those data scientists have to know about machine learning operations. And even then, usually you hire, say, one data scientist. They're not able to build the pipeline in a super reliable manner in a fast way. And so what we're trying to do, of course, is somehow automate this part, right? Which is that data scientists can, or not even sometimes, less technical person than a data scientist can ping these models automatically and get this customized modeling, which is for you. But then it's not, so it's more flexible, and you have data drifts which are taken care of. And the reason is you have this part of the data which is being sent to the crowd, right? And so this relabeling and retraining, you take care of the data drifts. Well, of course, it's a little less flexible than the custom internal models because you cannot do all sorts of crazy things with it. But basically, if you think about the cost to launch dimension and accuracy dimension and dimension of human verification and monitoring, I'd say that it's a little, somewhere in between. The cheap version, which might not suit for you, might not be suitable because it's generic, and the expensive version of building everything from scratch and just owning everything. And then I talked about the data drift, but the thing is, you may ask me, well, whatever, data drift, my data scientist is going to retrain the model in half a year and it's going to be fine. It turns out very often, you miss out on those moments when the model needs to be retrained. The COVID came, right? Like you have customer reviews on your website for candles, and then the candles are supposed to be scented. And you put a candle, you have some romantic evening with some nice scent coming out of that candle, right? And then you get some reviews which say, "Oh, candles are crap. They don't have any scent." And then you try to target this, right? You say, "Oh, well, maybe I choose the wrong provider who actually built, I have a new contract, and this new candles provider doesn't provide high quality candles," right? What turns out that after COVID happened, the whole data situation changed, right? And there's many more reviews. Oh, there's no scent in these candles, it's not an immediate. It's not that it immediately comes to your mind. The COVID started somewhere in China. You see first news, and you're like, data scientists, this is going to be the issue. You go and retrain. This doesn't happen, right? You figure that out in a few months after, and as a result, you haven't followed. There's actually like a bit of a theory about the data drift. There's distribution shift where data changes over time, like an old language to a new language. Then there is train and test skew, where your training data doesn't represent your testing. Then there's label drift, where basically the details of the task change over time, and you might not notice this. So what's under the hood? As I mentioned, so now we can explore how people approach this tagging data problem. What's under the hood there? Well, how do models usually work? The model is a service overall. You have some model which is hosted, and you have a database which to save prediction, and the input pings you through the API, you get result back. The API pings the model, and the prediction is saved. Now there's an additional task, which is as this Toloka API for crowd, right? So there is a Toloka project, which is a crowd project. And basically the crowd responds to some of the items in the database without the model. So now you see in the database, there are answers from the model and from the crowd. And here you have a human in the loop, right? You have a model on the top, you have data label in the bottom, you have some logos of the technologies we used, just for, I guess, curiosity, if you want to build this yourself. And yeah, that's probably the most technical slide I have. So maybe we can pause on this. But the idea is simple, right? You set up a project, which is the data labeling project, which means you explain how to label your data. And then there is a model on the background, which we have. And by having this loop here and here, you basically have the model retrained and re-updated. Yeah. Well, so I'm talking about, I'm giving a technical talk to actually emphasize the point that it's not about social media, and it's not only about social media, and it's not about, sentiment analysis or something. It can be applied to quite a lot of things, quite a lot of types of data. I mean, here there's like on the top, there's 3 text data, and then there's image moderation or image classification. We even have some sort of language transformer where you can generate product descriptions, generate a text. And there's a few other use cases. Basically, I mean, the brief message is that maybe for us, this helps us launch new tagging much faster. Maybe this can be helpful for you as well. And I'm actually going to pass the microphone to our next speaker, who is from the company called Smelter, and they are focused on social media analysis, which uses under the hood what we have built. And for us, if you have any questions, happy to answer. Go to QR code if you want to actually talk in more details, not in this setting, and or go to try the demo. I'm also happy to share with you how it works, or let you try it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fedor. Does anyone have questions? Either the talks are brilliant or you are too shy guys today. Okay. Yes. By the way, you still can get a t-shirt, a branded t-shirt for asking questions. So that's another motivator for you. Another speaker. Yep, of course. Can you, what do you mean?
Oh, here? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so the next talk, please. Yes. Similarweb.
Okay. So, yeah. Hello, everyone. Sorry. My name is Vlad. I'm a head of product at Smelter.ai. Thanks for having me today. And I'm going to talk to you how we learn to understand the word of mouth mention generated by users in Smelter. So today's agenda, a couple of words about the Smelter. What is the Smelter, and why it's important to understand and monitor a word of mouth mention of a brand and companies, and how Smelter helps to understand word of mouth. What is the requirement for the solution for the labeling, for the understanding word of mouth, which we have, and how we implement word of mouth classification in our product. And after that, I share the couple of results we got. So the Smelter solved 2 main tasks. The first task is gathering data from the web. From the social media, from the online media. We gathering data based on keywords and about the companies, about the brands, about the different products of the company. We gathered such data from the different sources, such as social media, online media, forums, blogs, and so on. So the second task is to analyze such mention. It's analyzing such mentions and inside instruction. So we helps to specialists to analyze sentiment over time, to rate share of voice, and to calculate different aggregation numbers to know what's going on inside about their brands, about their products in the media space. So basically, Smelter cover 3 main use cases. It's brand management, it's competitor analysis, and monitoring for small businesses. But we want to go further and we basically this is the PR segments. This is use cases for PR segment, but we wants to go further, and we wants to help we want that our solution could help not only in PR segment, but also in marketing segment. So we decided to implement the word of mouth classification in our product. So what is word of mouth classification and why it's important to monitor? Word of mouth is the customer-to-customer communication. So is the messages which customers share with each other about the brand, about the company, how the customers use the product, or how about their opinion of the entire product or service. And I give you on the few numbers why it's important to monitor. Word of mouth is primarily a factor behind the 20 to 50% of all purchasing decisions, and the 19% of people more likely to trust and buy from a brand recommended by their friends. That's why it's very important to monitor such mentions, and it's work in a positive positive direction. In a positive way, if the brand have a lot of negative mentions or bad mentions, a negative opinion, that it's could harm to their sales. So, but there are issues to find mentions from the whole internet and analyze these mentions from the whole internet is not an easy task, because of the every day generates a lot of content. Users share a lot of information with each other. A lot of mention generates, and manual labeling. Even if you use a distributed labeling system, it's limited for such complex tasks like a warm classification, like a labeling of warm classes. We calculate that we're limited by the 3,000 mentions per day. We could label 3,000 mentions per day. But the requirements, so the middle-sized brand needs to generate from 1 to 3,000 mentions daily, and the large customers brand generates more than 10,000 mentions daily. So that's why we need to automate the process of word of mouth classification. And now I show you how we did it. So we decided to implement such classification, and we choose these classes of our word of mouth. Some of these classes are negative, some of these positive, and some of these classes depends on the context in the text. And we decided to automate such classification with ML. So as a result, we expected that our users could give the ability to analyze, to understand the complaints in such mentions, to understand the integration or gratitude in such mention. As this is the result what we expect. I mean the ability to understand such mentions. So let's before I jump to the story how we implemented. Let's try to label in a couple examples by our hands. And so this is a real example, a real mention about the Viva Aerobus. It's a low coster from the LATAM region. So what do you think? What is the class of word of mouth this mentions belongs to? Who thinks that it's an incident? Okay, who thinks that it's a complaint? And who thinks that it is needs support reaction? Yeah, you're right. It's definitely it needs support reaction. So next example. This is some story with the mosquitoes. So would I think this? Who thinks that it is opinion? No one. Okay, who thinks that it's a complaint? Yeah, definitely. Oops, sorry. It's a complaint about mosquitoes, about some situation. So these guys, we were robots, it's always happens some strange things, and it's not surprising. So what's the requirements for such services which helps to analyze it, which helps to labeling such mentions? Because Smelter is a tool, it's a self-service tool, and the new users appear daily, and we have users who work now in the with the Smelter. So we have several requirements for the implementation of word-of-mouth classification. It's a scalability, integrability into microservice architecture, and sustainability of such solution. Stability of model quality, because the new text and new mentions could appear from the new sources. That's why for the quality of the model, the quality of classification, word of mouth could decrease because of the new type of data. That's why we need to control the quality of the model infinitely, and we need to adopt the quality of the model. So the next requirement is the labeling that users could trust, because we heard a lot from the real users that if you give them the black box and if you don't describe how this model works, they don't trust to the results. And the second, the last one is the classification in different languages, because we, for now, we are focused on LATAM region, but we want to launch in the new regions, and that's why we need to easily implement this model in the different languages. So how we implement this solution? We use the adaptive ML models from Toloka. And how does it work? So we find in the dimensions from the internet. We parse this mention, extracts. We parse this data, extract the mentions. After that, we send the text of this mention to adaptive ML models, and this service, as a result, give us the certain warm word of mouth class, which this mentions belongs to. So let's check our requirements. Scalability. The growing of new users leads to the growing of new mentions and leads to the growing of new requests to the models. And the adaptive models could scale because they work in the cloud, and it's automatically scaled by editing new instances. And this requirement is done. Stable model quality that's users could trust. So every day, from the real flow of data, we sample the data, and this real sample of the data go to the adaptive models. And the adaptive models, inside the adaptive models, the real humans labeling the data by their instructions. And and after that, we evaluate the quality of the models by this labeling data. If the quality model is falling, so we understand in what examples this quality is falling, and we added these examples to the training data set, training and test data sets, and retrain the model. And the brilliant thing that's happened, this is work inside the adaptive models. So we don't need to do anything. It's work automatically. So the classification in different languages. We have a basic instruction for the Tolokers who label the data in English. And if we need to add another language, then we adapt and translate this instruction to another language. With the help of language detection, we generate the data sets on the local languages, and we start and we're labeling the new data. We're labeling new data in the new language with the local Tolokers, and after that we get labeled data sets on the new language, and we retrain the model based on these new data sets. And it's a very easy way, because we don't do so, because we have already an instruction and it's work, and it's work very fast in another language as well. So what we got as result? 3 main bullets. No numbers. I have definitely I have not especially technical speech. So 3 main things for our product is the minimum workloads of our ML engineers. It's inference in several languages. So we launched the ML classification, word of mouth classification in 3 new languages, in English, in Portuguese, and Spanish, because we focus on the LATAM region. And we have sustainability and the sustainability and scalability of ML models. It's not our headache. It's inside the adaptive ML models, and we get as a service. So this is my last slide. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, yeah. Yeah.
So do you take into account any sort of threading? So if there is a person like,
Please say it into this thing.
Should I start from the
Yeah,
beginning?
please.
Yes. So I was just wanting to know if you take into account any sort of replies and threading that does not necessarily include the original mention of the subject, but have practically the same maybe relevance.
So for now we gather the dimensions based on the keywords, and if in this mention there is no any keywords, that we don't gather it. So it's the I think we only start to train our models, to train our system to gathering the mentions and the thread inside these mentions. So for now, we don't have such information. We gather only which mentions with have the keywords inside.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it possible to separate region of languages? I mean that some people like speak Portuguese or Spanish,
Yeah.
and if brand Apple, for example, wants to like count mentions from LATAM,
Yeah.
can we do it?
Yeah. We have yes. Sometimes in profile, people mention that they're from Chile or from Peru or from Spain. So we use this information. We have a large database of users from the social networks, and we use this information to separate. If we talk about the online media, then we see on the domain of the sites where we find the mentions, and we separate like that.
Hello, Vlad. It's a nice service for goods and services, as I think. But explain me, possible to use a service for the trading on the capital markets or investing in the different companies?
And if you want to understand something, if you want to understand how this particular brand is presented in the media space, in this and this, so we could gather the data based on keywords, and keywords could be everything. So it could be people, it could be brand, product, the name of the service, and so on. So you could gather the data about this type of these objects. But if you, for example, asked about the financial stocks, you got a lot of information which I think constructed, and you could get insights from this data. And I think we in the future we could understand and we could gather information by the industries. But for now we have only this type of keywords: brand, companies, products, humans.
No, in other words, you can. It's possible in the future.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a kind of similar question, but yeah, I wanted to gather. Can we gather keywords in to one prediction to get a sentiment for a couple of keywords and understand, for example, if it's a stock, it would be I could get two keywords that communicate to the same stock. So this is one question. And another one is, did you had to do some modification after incorporating the system with the Toloka.ai because you lost control a bit? On the other hand, you gained on the other benefits. Did you have to do any other modification to counteract that?
Yeah, let's start from the first question. Truly speaking, I don't know. We need to try. If you have your keywords that you could try to, so you could visit our website and you could find there the 7-day free trial version where you could launch your own channels and try to gather the data about different keywords. The second one, could you repeat the question, please?
When you incorporated the system with the Toloka.ai and you get scale and you got the adaptive mail, you gained a lot of capabilities. On the other hand, you lost a bit of control.
Yeah.
Have you done something to counteract that, to address this inside the company?
Yeah. This is the great question, because we need to solve this question for now, because we have in the scheme we have our own in-house ML models, sentiment and significant mentions, and we launched the new adaptive ML models and we try to see how it works. What the restrictions will be, maybe the control of, if we don't have the control of these models, it's not, it would be very bad restriction for us. But I think we could control it by the instruction. We involve in creation instruction for the Toloka.ai. And we involve in determine the requirements of the quality of the model. So our ML engineers work with the adaptive ML models engineers, and we determine which metrics should we optimize for our models.
Going for the shirt here. What's the significant mention? When you say significant, does it prioritize?
Yeah, if someone, if this mentions is only about the particular brand or about company. For example, if someone say that there are a lot of good companies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is not significant. It's the mentions. It's nice to know about that, but it's not significant. Or if someone write the whole article about the brand and they mention that it's brand, it's this is the goods, the good things that the brand doing. Is this significant?
I mean, it's a different thing that when I mention the company, then Kim Kardashian mentions the company. From your point of view, it's the same.
If someone mentioned this brand, if it's only the one brand inside the mentions, it would be significant.
There's a difference between me and Kim Kardashian, although she might mention 2 brands and still, I guess it would be significant.
Good point. Yeah, we definitely need to work on that.
Want the shirt? No.
Can I ask? Thanks a lot, Vlad, for your keynote. Yeah, I would like to say, would like to ask 2 questions. The first one, as I understood, your service is B2B. Am I right?
Yeah.
And the second one is, do you plan to make some kind of demo for companies to try it?
Yeah, we have a demo. We have like I said, the free trial. Yeah. And we could make a demo for the different companies as we do for now. So for Latam Legend, for Latam region, we focus on the agencies. We start to work with the agencies because they have a lot of such tasks like brand awareness, like monitoring different sources about the brand or company. So yeah,
great, thanks.
Yeah, this there.
Thank you. Thank you for lecture. I wanted to know, how do you handle a tweet or, a Facebook post that someone posted in 2 languages? So, for example, I wrote, I'm in a restaurant and I wrote the waiters, let's say it's in Hebrew, the waiters, they helped me, and then they went out sad, so it's not positive. The meaning of the Hebrew is just unknown, but then there's sad, which says it's negative.
Yeah, good question. Because it's a lot of depends on the language of mention, and for now we basically monitoring the gathering mentions from the Twitter and Facebook based on open APIs. So and we get the mentions on the language which this API return to us. So basically, if there is mentions on the English, so we gather in the English, and after that we analyze this mention. Or if it's basically on the Spanish or in Portuguese, so we analyze in this language. So we don't choose in which language we gather data. We request to the API, give us the mentions about this brand, and they reply us such mentions.
Would you consider separating the languages if you could?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think we need to do it because maybe it could help to improve the quality of the classification of the sentiment classification if we have the mention on 2 languages, and we could compare the result. Yeah. Thank you.
First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
And second of all, I was away for a bit. Maybe you talked about it, but when you give a certain keyword to Smelter, how do you collect the corresponding data to that keyword so you can classify the sentiment?
Yeah, for now, our sentiment is we calculate the sentiment about dimensions in whole, but our main goal for the I think next couple of months to understand the sentiment connected with the exact keywords. So how we going to solve this question, this task? We so we collect the data, the text, the keywords, and the labeling. So after that, we collect. We create a data set with such data and train our models. I think it's good help to understand.
So the
yeah, we just need to create such a data set with the and show the models that you need to understand this token, exactly token, which is keyword.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you. I would like to ask about emojis. Do you and how you take them into consideration?
No, for now we don't understand the emoji, but it's a we yeah, we have a lot of ideas, and the emoji is one of that. We for now we create a word of cloud based on the based on hashtags and based on the mentions, but based on the words. But we know about the tasks of analyzing the emoji and analyzing the building the word of calls of emoji. Oh, maybe maybe I don't understand you correctly. That you asked about the sentiment that in the emoji inside the text. How do we use this emoji inside?
Yes.
The text? Okay. I don't have the great answer about this because we for now we I think that we don't use such information for sentiment classification, but it's a good point to use this data as additional labeling information, additional information to the labeling different classes. So I think we could try it.
How does the model account for change in sentiment classes over time? Are there any analytic tools that incorporate time series techniques for Smelter?
No, there is no any tools like that.
Okay, guys, any other questions? Oh yes, and also online question. Has there found to be a bias in classification of less understood languages when it comes to sarcasm or rhetorical devices that would be more difficult for a foreigner of that language to detect?
Yeah, this is the one of the problem to understand the sarcasm, and we only the way to solve such problem. Basically, for now, we understand the three main classes for sentiment: is the positive, negative, and the neutral. For now, we don't understand the sarcasm inside the language. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, or no questions from online.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of ideas, a lot of great points to improve our product. Thank you a lot.
Guys, just a small reminder, we're going to have a small break, like 10 minutes, and afterwards we're going to have a panel discussion with the C-level of our company. So please stay, don't go homes. That will be very interesting. Thank you.
Окей, все. Я меняю батарейку, проверить,
А мы выключаем, в принципе.
а мы отключаем.
Нет, вот это Zoom снимает.
Короче, мы поменяем батарейку, потом просто проверим. There's in English, the term in Hebrew. We have a building system. Does this work only for Israel? It's only for Israel. The feature of the company is to go online, but more global. We start global. Yeah. Thank you very much. I had a great time. I have to go, but I agree, but it's a concept of the waiting for a long time. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do the pasta. Yeah, it is a great singer. No, random name. Yeah, no?
Это тоже будет интересно. Да, у него, Толок тоже хорошо. На фотографии. Ну, фотографии.
А ты, по-моему, приходил к нам с практикой? Нет, у нас должна быть. Да. Нет, мы
Не, ну это отлично, на самом деле. Денежный вопрос.
Да.
А тут задаток.
Да, разные вещи. А как вы ищете, знаете? Ну, на картинку.
Да, мне почему Толок интересно. Я хочу предложить. У меня есть процессор определенный, что без них. Вот Толок, это тоже процессор. Если не хватает профессиональный процессор, Толок,
Ну, вот многие очень думают, что не профессиональный процессор. На самом деле очень много задач решается без них.
Я понимаю.
Например, у нас к нам приходили люди, которые до сих пор пользуются, люди, которые даже у них в фотографии есть документ личный, ну, делать на Толоке. Видео было действительно неделю документ на части, так что это было незаметно. Вот. Сначала, значит, они первое задание были через документы, потом, когда документы были, они уже показывают вместе, и потом, значит, они распознают текст на текст конверсии фотографии PDF. Ну да. Внедрение, они должны... А у этих не
Ну, на самом деле, они говорят, что есть, я могу назвать пирог, да, красиво, машина время, а когда она к нам что-то будет написано, специальным шрифтом, или там, ну, невозможно.
Ну вот это та самая...
Да, да, но понимаешь, дело в том, что если мы говорим о мы один раз с тобой распознали для многих, да, у меня один для одного. Мало вероятно, что такой же шрифт будет использовать.
Да. Не, ну ты часть.
То есть это был бы 1 на 10, это тоже было бы. Да, но когда 1 на 2 на 3, искусство уравнивается.
Не, понятно.
Поэтому с этим другой момент. А вот именно дошать до 100%.
Да, да, не поэтому надо он позволяет да, ну, практически.
Ну, на самом деле, я думаю, когда начинают рисовать свою дорогу.
А вы какие типа арабские? Да. Делаем.
Ну, это же а? Там в эпоху здесь все хорошо. Если вы начинаете с картинки вроде робота, когда много там голые цифры рисовать, там вместо части робота.
Мы не делаем. Да, у нас
есть. Он почти как русский. Он просто отличается, да. Так он. Китайский сложный.
Да, с китайским, ну, короче, с моделью мы с китайским не работали, по-моему, есть какие-то.
Я тоже, я иероглиф это повторил. У меня иероглиф очень хорошо. Японский, китайский. Когда они начинают видеть,
не, ну, да, тогда мы...
Такой печатный шрифт, там,
я почти уверен, что можно решить, ну, если...
Я сначала здесь. Ну, из-за скорости, кстати. Тут сайт не главный. Неважно. Там самое интересное, там есть соответствие, там, иероглиф, ну, датасет был таким иероглиф,
ну, понятно, да. Ну, а что, может, сделаем плод с китайским, но не с моделями.
Ну, русский, пока я не рынке китайском, скажем, да, это не имеет смысла. Если я пойду, сейчас у меня в Америке, да, в Северной Америке, да?
Ну, там, и английский,
ну, вот, потом, когда там Браун,
а вот пресечь.
она уже можно будет.
Ну да, с пресидом, да, интересно. Ну, есть, конечно, как-то вы
не надо, я не хочу прийти там, готовый продукт, мне просто нужно расширять, понимаешь? Вот готовый продукт всегда на будущее условия. У меня вот пример. Да, вот они сначала сделали какой-то там монотоники буквально. И был готовый продукт, но всегда все было на других условиях, они были на порядок. Сейчас все 5 миллионов.
Понятно.
Да. Ну, да. Я их видел в этом вложении, понимаешь? Я знаю, кому делать.
Yeah, of course.
In terms of the architecture, you basically make AI models for the customer.
Yeah. In terms of the architecture. Because you have like a general architecture that you go like it's more special classified for each customer. No. So basically, what it works is that right now it's like an automate, which selects out of the architecture. There's like birds and birds combined in place. There are some internal birds. There are some birds like for text, transformers, right? Yeah. One is the transformers, and then there is a model for text, which is like a super small model, and then it goes to the way it works so that it reads to a few models and then it sees which one performs best. Okay, and then there is also one of the applications we have this huge large language model, which is like OpenAI's general text. So that's the new yeah, we have that one. Well, not that model, but the same one. That sounds small. Yeah.
So how many people will be? 5? 5. Yeah, guys, our panel discussion is just to begin, so please take your seats. Anybody? Yes, we would like to invite you here. Хорошо,
Где воду взять? Можно вот это воду?
Yes. Guys, sorry for interrupting. Guys, sorry. Take your seat for panel discussion. Коллеги, прошу. А ты на панель. Как бы неоднозначно перебыть, а коллеги, я бы вас пригласить сесть. Так. Володь, у тебя только все. Оля. Пепто. Если что, пошли. Пойдем. Пойдем с нами, будем смотреть. Будем зрителями.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming and staying. Hopefully we have an interesting an interesting panel discussion left for you, and have any more questions, this is a good time to ask them or just discuss. We have 5 wonderful panelists here on stage. Vladimir, who is head of product at Smelter, Olga, who's the CEO of Toloka, and Daisy, who is one of the most important people for the CEO of Toloka. And then we have Ariel from Similarweb, and Rafael. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to name your titles because I don't actually know them. That's I don't want to lie. And yeah, so I actually wanted to ask first, who is from a small startup and who is from like a large company? Let's say small startup. Small startup less than 50 people. Raise your hands. Okay, no startups. Between 50 and 500 people. Okay, and then or the rest is above 500 people, or okay, cool. All right, well, that's good, because basically you see the dynamics in your company, and I think one of the curious questions, in my opinion, is at what point of the company's development should you start using AI or machine learning, or models, or actually start doing something with machine learning or AI? Okay, who wants to answer first? Do we have another microphone, or? Okay, cool.
Well, Similarweb is a little the estimation of the machine learning models. So we won't have anything. I mean, it's kind of similar to Smelter, I guess. So it's unique. But let's say, for example, in other departments that are not directly involved with their actual product, we barely have any machine learning models, even at our size, which is about 1,000 people.
Can people hear the speakers? Yes. Barely. Okay. The microphone doesn't seem to. Right. I'm gonna just pass the mic and then pass it back. Oh.
You can just talk louder, and the speakers can get.
All right.
The microphone.
Can you?
Nobody ever asked me to talk louder in all my life. This is the first time.
I can maybe answer this question from Ariel is coming from the research part in Similarweb, and I'm coming from the engineering part in Similarweb. I'm managing both data scientist and data engineer, and yeah, we don't have probably nothing without machine learning, but what I have learned is sometimes you need to kill short or kill the dreams of some of our data scientists, which are trying to solve small problem with rocket ships and spaceships and stuff like that. And sometimes you need to distinguish between when you need to do the, I don't know, deep learning on top of every other cool name that they read in some article to something which is more something which will be more easy for productionization, which is in some part, this is the hard part for us to productize a machine learning model and to make it consistent over time and predictable over time, because this is what we are selling for our customers.
Anybody else? I guess I'm gonna just talk louder. I can do that part, and then the microphone.
I think Fedor, probably this question is not like very relevant to this particular audience, because we all work in like technological companies whose products are based on machine learning. That's why it's hard to answer like that. We are as you mentioned, right? We need some machine learning from the start. But if we speak about some non-ML based products, from what I see, I would actually agree with Raphael with the fact that sometimes if you have data scientists in your team, it can be hard to stop them from trying to invent something cosmic. And at the same time, if you don't have any, it's really, really hard to start from zero. That's why for can you hold my apple, please? So for some young companies, from what we see from many of the clients which are in companies that are using Toloka as a platform, is that for early stages, using some already pre-developed solutions, out of the box solutions is kind of preferable than trying to invent something.
Okay, thank you. On.
Yeah. So in Smelter, I think the ML is the base of our product. So that's why we don't think about this. We just start to using Smelter in the first day, or Smelter ML from the first day.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yes, Stacy's certainly agreeing with some of these. Thank you. So I guess the next question I have is, so because this event is about marketing, like in terms of marketing, what trends do you see nowadays for marketing analytics? What's happening in this world? And not everyone has to answer, but if you do see any trends in marketing analytics, please share with us. I think maybe you can share and ask us.
Yeah, we based on that, we heard from our potential customers when we talk with them. So they ask us very frequently about their gathering mentions from not only from the text data. So here I talk about Smelter, and we gathering data from the text. But for now, a lot of marketing wants to understand what's going inside in images and audio and video. They try to understand what's going on, how their competitors promote in the TikTok, for example, the analyzing of short videos. So I think it's the next step because I don't think that's even of companies who analyze data from in social media, they have a good solution for such analyzing. So I think this is the next step for this market, and it's a hard task to gather and analyze data in the short videos from the TikTok, short YouTubes and Reels. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Anyone who wants to answer?
Yeah, maybe you can say it. In Similarweb, we also have a product which is the marketing intelligence. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and part of it is mainly for websites, but we have it also in apps. What we do see in terms of trends is in the past couple of months, and obviously in relation to the recession, we can see less and less investment in user acquisition, for example, in the apps world. So in total, the number of downloads of downloaded apps which are coming from marketing efforts, like not organic downloads, are dropped by, from our point of view, approximately 15 to 20%, which I think in some way reflects some major cutting in user acquisition budgets. So I think that this is the main trend that we are seeing. The thing that I mentioned is something that we are seeing since let me remember the date exactly. Yeah, so the past 6 months. Yeah. And because we also see lots of things in websites, but it's not my area. I'm responsible for the app intelligence. So in apps, it's really obvious currently.
I want to briefly mention that actually Refi did work about the so-called quote unquote death of Facebook. So this completely agrees with what Vlad said, that things are that the traditional platforms for marketing are moving to the more the younger platforms, and we in Similarweb we can actually see this trend happening.
Thank you. You can just keep it. I can ask a question.
That's right. Yeah, thank you very much. These are interesting discussions. By the way,
I actually had one more question related to that. Do you think that this like reducing of the share of downloads of like the budgets for mobile apps, does it mostly relate to the budgets cuttings, or it's in general the change of trend that the more like marketing is focused not on just paid traffic, but some, I don't know, other methods of organic growth or something like that?
Yeah, so we do have quite a lot of history in terms of like historical data, and we do have some connections with our customers and stuff like that, and sometimes we actually ask them. We have two major evidence. First, we do see some customers that saying, yeah, we cut our budget. We are not doing user acquisition as we used to. And the second evidence is that when you're looking 3 years back, you don't see anything that looks like this trend. There is usually patterns, but this is something which is out of the ordinary when you're looking 4 years back. So this is why we think that it's related in some way to what we're experiencing today in the market, because usually the market are behaving the same. So this is why we think that this is the possibility.
okay. By the way, if anybody from the audience sees any cool trends or interesting trends in marketing analytics, please share. Yeah. And of course, feel free to ask questions. Can you please pass the microphone?
Okay. Hello, my name is Marie, and I also work on Similarweb, but I don't know these guys. No, just because we are so big, and I work in GTM go-to-market department. I'm an account manager, so I speak with clients every day. And I want to ask about, maybe not the trend, but it's kind of trend from my clients, that many clients ask me, and before also I worked in marketing with different mentions analysis service, and clients very often ask me about how we can analyze like some new type of platforms, like a special Windows, special apps. I don't ask about Web3, yeah, but something additional. It's not a dark internet, but it's something like new different special platforms, pop-ups, and something like that, where we can like sometimes just find some information, or they just put information there, and sometimes they can also ask, I don't know, chatbot, something like that. How do you think, is it important to go to this like area, like so for some big companies and analytics service, or maybe it's not so important, it's not so big part of like an internet area?
Actually, there is some use cases in Similarweb, specifically when more of our heavy users that really know the product into its core users, because one of the strongest thing when you have actual user panel is that we are seeing everything, not only apps which are in the store, and not only websites which are indexed. We actually we never productize it, but I know about the customers that we have that use our platform to analyze how many users are downloading his app outside of the store. Like, for example, Minecraft, which cost approximately $3. If you will check how many times it was downloaded by the Google Play console, you will see a number which is like, I think, almost 2 times smaller than what it's actually downloaded, because most of the people downloaded the free hacked version outside of the store. So this is how this customer specifically, he actually learned me about how we did this use case with our system. I think that we just, maybe we don't see enough market for it right now, but we have some cool stuff that you can do, which is outside of the indexed website world and the app, like Apple Store and Google Play Store. I think it was a very specific to Similarweb. So
for answering your question, I think when we talk with the LATAM region specialists from PR area and marketing area, I think they answer us to monitor traditional media and social media. But if you go closer to China, then we heard a lot of do you analyze the WeChat mentions and so on. So it depends on the region, and I think for now it's maybe it needs to cover the traditional social media like TikTok or YouTube. It's not cover in 100%. So it's we have a lot of job to do, a lot of work to do that. That's why I think it's the traditional social media is for now it's important as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I guess well, let me ask another question. For the marketing space, what are the most curious, interesting AI applications you have seen besides, I guess, your everyday work? Or what do you think is interesting? Where do you think, AI could be applied to, machine learning could be applied to marketing? Of course, social media classification. Anybody has something in mind?
I can only talk about my topic, about the use cases that we see on Toloka platform, somehow related to marketing. Apart from those social media monitoring, which we have a bunch of use cases by Smelter and by other requesters on the platform for building their solutions. Apart from that, and actually that's kind of what you mentioned, not directly related to marketing, but in general, the projects and use cases related to monitoring and extracting information from the web, like monitoring the news about the companies, for example, and etc. These are another use cases. And also, for example, where the power of the crowdsourcing is used is quite often some things related to, for example, side-by-side comparison of the objects, where people are asked to vote for different versions of design, for example, or different versions of the size of the logos or something else. And that's an interesting approach, which allows use case, which allows the requesters to kind of digitalize the subjective opinions, because when you ask one person like which design or something is better than the other, it's just a subjective opinion. And like if you take two designers, they may kill each other, like, fighting whose design is better. But if you ask thousands of people, asking a simple question, which design do you like better? Then you get already a quantified estimation of which is preferred by the people. And that's the crowdsourcing is used there as some proxy between like full-scale A/B testing approach, which requires more infrastructure, etc., while setting up the questionnaire on Toloka for the crowdsourcing is much easier. And these are types of the use cases that we see quite often on Toloka related to that. Yeah, I think that's
Cool. Yeah, that's
something that is happening with Midjourney, the text to image, where they took a different approach, and the other one, the DALL-E 2 in the stable diffusion, and this is by using Discord, and so users can see what other users are doing and their prompts, and this is helpful for the product. They are voting, they're choosing the quality of the
yeah, actually the whole side-by-side thing is a very efficient tool for like the different approaches of like fine-tuning, for example, the results of the model, because the models can generate you tons of content, but then you need to like select the best of them. For example, they have you got 10,000 of images generated by the network, but you need actually only 5 out of 10,000. How do you select the best ones? And one of the approaches is using the side-by-side comparison. You ask a lot of people, every like image, for example, gets a score, then you can rank all the images according to that score, and you can automatically select the ones which gained the majority of the scores from real people. And this is kind of the combination of machine learning and human power, which allows you to extract quite easily the final solution.
I think like interesting goal in this domain is to synthetically create an influencer, that the AI generated the script to building somebody from scratch into an army of followers. And I think it's a very interesting algorithm challenge for AI people, because it's in marketing and psychology. And I think people are actually doing it now. And some influencers out there that are very authentic, very cutting edge, very compelling, are actually being guided by AI at their every move. And in a few years, we're going to have published articles about these are the exact steps I took to win all the crowd and to be a better influencer than the rest.
How many do you think right now are robots behind?
No, they're not robots. They're people just diligently following what the robot tells them to do.
Guided
Yeah.
I think now there are several Instagram. You cannot call them people, several Instagram accounts that are completely generated by AI, including images and text. It's exactly what you said.
So that search for authenticity, like ironically, I mean, we can probably these people, I mean, like the people are looking for the both authentic user and not as sort of users. Actually, I think they're tuning down like their messages and when to include the product placement and things like that, like to integrate it into their life. So I think it's some people that are completely just scripted by others.
The question for you, my name is Michael, I'm head of research in Politica. I think that generative AI is going through revolution now. These moments, the recent several months, every day there is a new paper with better results. How do you think these results and these generative abilities to generate text, images, videos, whatever graphics, they can generate 3D objects, how it will influence market and analytics, your area?
I think that we will need to find these items. We in Similarweb, we present ads and we show ads, we show the effectiveness of ads. So I think there will be just, as I said, generated ads on the fly. So somebody will just put in, as you said, put in a prompt, and you will get a nice ad that will just improve. And that it will be so cheap that you will get targeted, like a targeted small movie for you. I only saw these examples, so my friend is working on one of the later models in generative movies, and it's really compelling.
on the, actually. Well, I'm here to ask questions, but I guess I'm gonna also share some experience with one of the things we saw was generating ads with generative text is it turns out a lot of, like, you have a lot of small businesses. It's really hard to come up with some good catchy phrase for whatever they're doing. And sometimes when you have a model generating a few ads, and then just selecting by yourself which one is better, it really works very well on a large scale to help that. We actually have an online question. What is the state of sentiment analysis in marketing analytics? What is your opinion?
Actually, we did couple of months ago something that we are not sure how it will fit the market. But we started to notice, and it's something which also published by Google Play and App Store, that reviews is coming more and more, is becoming more and more crucial part for the app visibility on the store. And we dive into a project which turned out to be pretty big, of like review sentiment and sentiment analysis. And we actually find out that there is like an amazing efforts invested by mainly the top ups in order to actually analyze these reviews and react to them. And we actually took, we started with something that most of the market was doing up to this part, is to take everything as all the reviews and divide it to like the same topics. That we also wanted to know that if a review is negative, we also wanted to know what is the customer is complaining about. And when we checked the Google Play in-house reviews, we saw that it has like 8 generic topics, which is what is doing in order to give the developer some insights about the reviews. And what we discovered is that the depth of the reviews is much more vast. And we decided to do another project, which is to do a review analysis per category. So we discovered that to say that the user complained about bug or about the design is not enough. And when we do it, for example, on casino categories, you said you from Playtika, right? And we discovered like much more topics. In gaming, especially, we discover something which called like the app is too much pay to win. There is too much hackers. We discover sensitive content issues, some complaints about it's becoming harder. If I pay, then it's not working anymore. It's always want me to pay. Like really interesting stuff. And we were able to compare it against competitor apps. So I think that you can learn a lot about this thing and navigate your apps and improve your app. And now that the Apple Store and Google Play Store gives so much importance to that reviews, it's something which is really growing, and we see lots of interest from our customers in this product. So I think it's really related to that question.
Anybody else wants to?
Yeah, we do very similar things in the Smelter, but we analyze the aspect of brands. So, for example, it's something talking about the brand, and it's connected with the ESG theme, or with the brand is reliable. So we try to learn to understand such topics and the labeling, and understand the sentiment behind these categories. For the PR, it's really cool if we give them the ability to for example, if he wants to to get the KPI with connected with this category. For example, I need to raise this category for my brand for 10% in the next year. So it's we do it in the it's a very similar thing.
Do we have time for more question or? Yeah, sure. I mean, we have one more question for me, but it's better to ask the audience if the audience has any questions. Okay, well, I have, I guess, one remaining question is basically, when do you think it's better to have an AI solution in-house versus having it outside? Like, what is the trade-off where you say, okay, this is a moment where I'm going to build something, internally, or no, this is actually not the moment. It's much better to use some sort of external AI provider. And there's a lot of various providers. Let me also, I guess, give some examples. So there are some simple tasks and popular providers, maybe sentiment analysis is probably like super popular external task. And then there are some hard external tasks like generating text with, some sophistication, like what OpenAI is doing, right? So there's all sorts of different complexity in tasks, and there's also different levels of development of the company or different importance for the company. So maybe share some experience of when do you think it's interesting to do inside versus outside development, reliance on the AI solutions.
I think for us, it's depends on the, we try adaptive models because we don't have a lot of resources, and we think that for now is in our stage it's very important to grow very fast and to do more useful tasks for our clients as soon as possible. So that's why we decided to integrate the adaptive models, because it's because of the time to market. And that's why I think for the startups is a great decision to use the outstanding services like the adaptive models.
Yeah, I think it's in general comes from the dynamics of the business. Until you reach the limit when you cannot grow further, specifically because you don't have your own proprietary model, there is no point in starting to invest in that if you can grow like more effectively without that. So I think it's.
So we've discussed this several times before this panel. I think for Israelis, it's tougher. I think this idea that somebody else is going to do a model and we're going to rely on this outside model, even though it's service, like a very under service. But I think once you go over the psychology of, but I have data scientists here, they should. I think it will. Your solution is the future. So this is what is going to happen, and just be indifferent to it. So okay, so I have this problem. It's not my use case. It's not my main business. I will use this solution. I still think that I asked you this, and I can return the question back to you. So I think for Israelis that the model stays on your side compared to you giving me the keys, and the model is now mine. And this is a question I think we will need to answer in some markets for some companies, because I think some companies will very much like to be done with you. I mean, buy this solution from you and then have the property rights for this model. So this is something I think you will need to take into consideration going forward.
In one sentence, if I will give you the engineering perspective, you can think about this idea as the same as we see 10 years ago when the cloud enters our life. Everything today, lots of things today in the engineering world is now managed. There is almost, when I'm looking on my junior data engineering backends, I think nobody ever built its own server-side backend. Everything is microserviced, and we're using managed Airflow and managed. When I got inside Similarweb, we had our own map reduce cluster when we actually manage directly the instances and installed Spark and did like everything by ourselves. And today we are in completely different world. So I think that if it happened in this area, it could happen in the research area. So the idea is already proven in some area in engineering. So maybe it could be in data science.
By the way, I had just to specify the thing that you mentioned about the specific Israelis approach. Do you think it is like cultural thing, or it is rather because for specifically the Israeli market there are lots of, I don't know, Hebrew specific specific models and etc.
No, I'm talking about the psychological things. But you agree that it's very weird.
Okay. Thank you very much. These are quite interesting perspectives. Actually, it was really cool to see. Like, okay, well, maybe you grow and then you start realizing that now you need a model, but then your profile provide entirely different perspectives. Like things get commoditized because you have right abstraction levels. And then it's like, as soon as you have a right abstraction level, just use this abstraction level and it's much easier to use. Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Anybody still has any questions, feel free to ask. If not, then thank you for the panel and thank you for the listeners. Let's mingle a little bit more and enjoy our evenings.
Это не пригодилось, да, я поняла.
Armenian quarter. Oh, okay, that's it's not like I type. Just you're from here, no, like not from Tel Aviv, but here, and I do data from core systems like database and receipts for customers, PDFs, online, batch, text messages, mails. Well, it's just so organizations, they usually have nowadays you can only, as a customer, you can log in and get data for your account, electricity bill, pension, bank account, data like this. But regulation, payments you must send report to customer, bank customer every quarter. This is like it's all stuff. People don't need modern customers. They just get open the application with their profiles and they can check their account at any time. But for the regulation purposes, bureaucracy, you must give the customer a report every 3 months with all the data. Well, you can send it to no, not in my current position. What I do no, actually has very little. topics like these. But I am just interested in the subject. Okay. And practical questions I have regarding artificial intelligence, with the text to image or image text, and all of these things are very as a user. So always good, and I use social media. It's always important. I am doing actually Twitter is very curious. Not just with Twitter, but social media in general. Twitter and Instagram is places where just engagement is very different than because the people who make a lot of noise, let's say they do a lot of comments, so they get a lot of engagement and get more to the platform. It's different. It's not the good stuff. Sometimes the bad stuff gets engagement and gets so it's also something that if I see people in Twitter and their opinion I do not agree with, I will either silence them or block them, whatever. But I will never engage in stuff like this. I will actually try to get the least amount of engagement. Like if I block them and it tells the platform, okay, this guy chases away you. That's what I'm trying to do, but I see a lot of people doing it the wrong way. You're feeding the 12. Come on. Yeah, this is social media. You don't need to be the nice guy, smart guy. You just need to be the nice guy. Yeah. Wanna go grab some water? Yeah.
No, de todo. Más. No. Azia. No, también todo valor como no como mi micrófono. ¿Quién quiere? Не парфум, між ще, я сьогодні мікрофон, це я найможливо. Ale le fa fate sul mio. Sì, no, vale mi sono telefoni a no, no, אם מישהו כאן רצה לשאול שאלה, מה הוא היה עושה? נכון, בדיוק.